Support for the Idaho Matters podcast is brought to you in part by University of Idaho, Idaho's only Carnegie R1 classified research university. Our Carnegie R1 designation recognizes the discoveries we make that help our forests thrive. It means we're creating more doctors and doing real research to strengthen cybersecurity for Idaho businesses, our energy sector, and every Idahoan. More at go.uidaho.edu/Idaho-is-Idaho.
The Boise State Public Radio app. News, music, and more.
Idaho Matters.
Morning Edition.
All things considered.
The Connector.
And more.
And more.
You can take us wherever you go and stay connected. Without it, you're missing out. Download it free.
You can also communicate using the Talk to Us tab.
The Boise State Public Radio app.
More Idaho Matters now from the studios of Boise State Public Radio News. I'm Gemma Gaudet. It is never easy to talk about death, and it's even harder to plan ahead for what will happen after you die. Now, to help start those conversations, April 16th has been designated National Healthcare Decisions Day, and a group called Thrive is partnering with other groups to host a series of workshops in places like Boise, as well as Payette and Star and Weiser, where folks can come in and talk about and learn how to plan their end-of-life decisions. So joining us today are Danny Henson, she's a nurse and the CEO of Ancora Health Services, Megan Williams, Manager of Clinical Education for Compassion and Choices, and Susan Graham of Senior Edge Legal. I want to welcome all three of you to the program today. Thanks for taking time for us.
Thanks very much, Gemma.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Danny, let me start the conversation with you. Can you tell us what Ancora is and what you do?
Yes. Ancora Health Services, we were founded in 2021. We do hospice, palliative care, and geriatric house calls. And we serve the Treasure Valley in Eastern Oregon. And so we serve folks who get a terminal or life-limiting diagnosis and walk through that final stage of life with them, or if they're on our palliative care, work on symptom management and working alongside their primary care providers or specialty providers as well.
And Megan, tell us what Compassion and Choices is. What do you do as well as your numerous volunteers do every day?
Yeah, thank you so much for acknowledging them. One of our volunteers is the reason this entire thing is happening. So we're really thrilled. And thank you again for having us on to talk about this. Compassion and Choices, we're a national organization, and we're the nation's oldest and largest nonprofit organization that's focused on improving care and expanding choice at end of life. For more than 40 years, we've provided support and resources for individuals and community members. We also work to advocate for patient-directed policy and practice and just general high-quality end-of-life healthcare.
So, Susan, where does Senior Edge Legal fit into all of this?
My law practice focuses on retired people or those anticipating retirement. I've been doing this a long time. I'm a certified elder law attorney, one of about 500 nationwide, and I bring up this conversation in every visit I have with my clients about the end-of-life choices. I tell them that's the only guarantee I can give them. They're going to die one day. And so we address this. And what I find fascinating is I talk about two different end-of-life versions. One is assisted suicide. Of course, we all want to die like Robert Redford, just go to bed, not get up the next morning, but it doesn't work like that. So I do talk about, okay, if you get to a place in life where you can't handle things anymore, what are your choices? And we talk about medical assistance in dying, which is assisted suicide. We also talk about voluntary stopping eating and drinking, which is another option, which is actually legal in all the states, where people get to decide that, yeah, I'm not doing this anymore. Usually the ones 50% of my clients are choosing these choices, which I'm blown away by. But the voluntary stopping and eating and drinking, the clients who really want to follow up on that don't want the end of life of those illnesses like dementia, where you cannot clean yourself up, you can't feed yourself, you don't recognize anybody. And the medical assistance in dying, my clients who are actually following through on that have cancer, and the cancer pain is so bad that they cannot control it, except for being a zombie, and they don't want that. And so in Idaho, it's not legal, but there are 12 states in this country, or you can go to Switzerland with a first class ticket and, make arrangements there. But
Mhm.
nonetheless, people want to have control over dying and have a good death for themselves and others around them that care about them. So it's an important feature of estate planning.
And Susan, I mean, you just mentioned quite a few things, and these are things like advanced directives, right? Deciding about life-sustaining measures, DNRs, which are do not resuscitate orders. You mentioned dementia, so you can do a dementia advanced directive. Why again is it important that people not only make these choices, but they also, understand the legal terminology around all of this?
We're just normal people. We deny that we're ever going to die, but this is a guarantee. You get born and you die. That's the way it works. And so those forms are critical because then you get to express at a time when it's not a crisis what you really want to have done. We have those forms available for free on my website, and they include the voluntary stopping eating and drinking and the assisted suicide, among many other things. It's nice that you can say what you want when it's not a crisis, and also share that information with the people that are going to support you and make sure that they agree with your decision. And if not, that's cool, but just get somebody who really will back you up when that day happens.
So, Megan, Susan just brought up a good point, and I want to talk a little bit more about that because there are a lot of legal questions when you're planning for end of life. However, how important is it that you talk to your family members, your loved ones about your wishes?
Yeah, thank you so much for asking. I would argue that that is one of the most important pieces of this, because so many times we hear about folks who might complete their paperwork, even though we know data tells us, research shows that about 2 out of 3 adults in the US do not have their advance directive paperworks completed, which tells us it's likely that they also haven't had the conversations that go with them, right? But we see a lot of people who complete paperwork and say, okay, it's done, and put it in a folder or in a drawer. But really, we know that talking about them is critical because we know that if you're traveling and your family is with you and something happens and you're in the hospital and not able to speak for yourself, those conversations you had with the loved ones that are around you are going to help make sure you get that care in a different place without the provider who might know what it is that you're wishing for. So we often say that those conversations are the most important piece and also should be ongoing. Advanced care planning conversations should be happening consistently, regularly. There's lots of different suggestions about, what kinds of timelines. Some people say it's, if you have a birthday, a new diagnosis, you have a life change, you're getting divorced or you're having a child. Those are really good natural times to be revisiting these things. And we also know that our wishes and desires and our feelings change as we get older, as our life changes.
Mm-hmm.
So what my advanced directive might have looked like at 24 looks different now at 39, and I know it will look different in my 50s and 60s. And so I think also giving yourself the flexibility and the resources to explore these things is a really critical part of it, and giving yourself and the people around you the opportunity to revisit, and including your healthcare, your durable power of attorney for healthcare, being able to say, are you still interested in supporting me in this way? Those are things that should be continued to be brought up because the conversation is so critical and includes so much nuance that we don't always get to capture on paper.
So, Danny, why do you think it's so difficult, though, to have these conversations? And I wonder if it could be because, as much as we think that death, I mean, we know it happens to everyone. A lot of people haven't necessarily been impacted by it, and so I wonder if it's just a difficult conversation to have because you think you might live forever, or you think it's bad luck if you're going to talk about it. I mean, what is it? Do you think?
Well, I think it could be a lot of different things. In the United States, we historically, culturally, we don't talk a lot about death and dying. Again, everybody dies, but in other cultures, it is more routine and it's celebrated. For us here, it is something that is very still considered very taboo to talk about, unfortunately. And there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of fear from healthcare providers and primary care providers in bringing up discussions because some folks feel like when they bring up those end of life discussions, it can be taking away hope for somebody who maybe is
Mm.
critically ill or chronically ill, and then will stop them being as open with their providers. And instead of normalizing that conversation when people are healthy and saying, hey, everybody is going to die one day, let's talk about what that looks like. What does death look like for you? What is your understanding? And it's really comes down to normalizing those conversations and normalizing that everyone dies at an early age when we're talking about all of those lifespans and all of those different milestones that we will hit.
And Megan, you mentioned a representative that can speak for you. Can you talk a little bit more about why it's important to choose a representative, especially if you cannot speak for yourself, right? I mean, that could be, you're incapacitated in some way. I mean, maybe you have dementia if you're older, right? And the
Mhm.
importance of doing this before anything happens.
Absolutely. So I would say so. In every state, it's a little bit different, and I apologize for not being in Idaho and myself, but it is durable power of attorney for healthcare. I believe in Idaho is the term you use. In some places, it's called the
Hmm.
healthcare proxy. So people might have heard that used. But this is somebody who is, yeah, is your advocate who's going to speak for you, that you document is going to speak for you on your behalf if you're unable to. And this, this is somebody that you should be choosing carefully. Sometimes it's actually best to not have, some people immediately think of their spouse, their child, their eldest child. And sometimes that is not the best choice because if we think about, again, if there's a crisis, an emergency, perhaps, you want to think about the mental and emotional space that someone might be in. And perhaps for me, for instance, I'm not a great healthcare proxy for my parents. We learned that a few years ago. But I do really well advocating for my partner. So this
Mm.
is something that is somebody you want to spend time kind of exploring the people in your life who you know are great at following through on things, who are detail oriented, who you see be really good advocates in their world. And so a longtime friend, a member of your faith community, those can be really great options. But this is again somebody that you want to have multiple conversations with over time and really help them understand what it is you want, so that they can really kind of hear your voice in their head when they're helping to make
Mm.
decisions. Because again, it might be that they're making decisions for you after a long fought illness, but it could also be again that you're perfectly well and healthy, but have an accident while you're traveling or something and end up in the hospital unable to speak for yourself. So having the documentation and the conversation empowers these people that love and care for you to advocate for you. And if you have talked to them about your wishes many times, they don't have to make decisions in the dark. They will know what you hope for, and also what it is you want in different situations. Like you said, there are specific nuances to living with a dementia diagnosis that traditional advanced care planning documents don't always capture. Our organization has a dementia specific addendum that uses similar language to other legal documents to help you identify what you'd want in those situations. But what you want in the case of an emergency or an accident might be different than what you want in the case of a terminal illness. So
Mhm.
having a variety of those conversations before anything happens will help your family and the people that love you and care for you navigate with less uncertainty.
Um, Susan, what is the one piece of advice legally that you wish that people knew when it comes to planning for end of life care?
To actually sign a document that expresses your wishes because um, it makes it better for you. You get what you want, at least as close as that can possibly happen. And also, it makes it better for the people that are helping you. And it's easy. You just have to be age 18 and older, and young people die too. And give a copy to your agents give a copy to people, to your doctor and the people you're relying on, so they have that document to produce when that day actually occurs.
And Danny, my understanding is that you have some workshops coming up, and I've got about 2 minutes left with you. So can you talk about the workshops, but also these toolkits that you're going to be giving out?
Yes. So we have some workshops throughout the month, the end of the month, and then the month of April to kind of correlate with National Healthcare Decision Day, where we are going to be talking about end of life choices, advance directives, and disease-specific advance directives, and what people need to kind of get in order and look at when it comes to the end of life and making those decisions. And they are throughout the Treasure Valley, as far as up as Weiser and Parma, and throughout Starr and Ada County, and open for the public and anybody that has any questions, and any adults that we can answer those questions on. And then as far as the toolkits, Megan can talk a little bit more about the toolkits. She has volunteered to help speak on those a little bit as well.
Yeah, the My End of Life Decisions Guide is a free end of life advanced planning guide toolkit from our organization. You can get it online for free. We also will have physical copies at these events. And the guide is designed to help you prep and have these conversations so that then you can fill out your needed forms and get them signed.
Well, I want to thank all three of you for taking time to talk with us about this. It's such an important topic. We've been speaking with Danny Henson, a nurse and CEO of Encora Health Services, Megan Williams, Manager of Clinical Education for Compassion and Choices, and Susan Graham of Senior Edge Legal. We've been talking about a series of workshops coming up around Southern Idaho in April to help folks learn about and to plan for their end-of-life decisions. You've been listening to the Idaho Matters podcast from Boise State Public Radio. To stay in touch, you can find quick Idaho daily news every morning when you subscribe to the Connector podcast. Know someone who might enjoy our podcast? Be sure to share it with them today.
Hey, podcast listener, quick question, since you are probably, most likely, on your phone right now. Do you use the Nextdoor app? Because if you do, Boise State Public Radio is now on there too, sharing our trusted local news and Idaho stories right in your neighborhood feed. So the same place you check in on your community can now keep you informed. Just open the Nextdoor app, search Boise State Public Radio, and tap follow.